Dr. Eleanor Wright stood at the window of the Hawking Array Observatory, her eyes fixed on the starlit expanse above the Colorado Rockies. The quantum interferometer she'd designed had been detecting increasingly bizarre patterns over the past 3 months, patterns that defied conventional physics. Her colleagues had suggested equipment malfunction, but Eleanor knew better. After 20 years of studying gravitational anomalies, she'd developed an almost intuitive sense for when something was genuinely new. "Dr. Wright, you need to see this." Marcus Chen, her lead research assistant, burst into the observation room, tablet in hand. "The anomaly's signature just changed. It's like it's adapting." Eleanor took the tablet, her eyes widening as she studied the readouts. The gravitational distortion they'd been tracking had indeed shifted, its frequency changing in a way that suggested intelligence rather than natural phenomena. "It's trying to avoid detection," she whispered, more to herself than to Marcus. The discovery had started with a simple observation, a slight gravitational lensing effect that shouldn't have been there. Most astronomers would have dismissed it as instrumental error, but Eleanor had spent her career chasing exactly these kinds of impossibilities. Now, after months of careful observation and data collection, she was certain, something was orbiting Earth, something that bent both light and gravity in ways that human technology couldn't achieve. "Get me Director Hammond on the line," Eleanor said, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her. "And Marcus, initiate Protocol Omega. No data leaves this facility without triple encryption." Within hours, the observatory's quiet routine transformed into controlled chaos. James Hammond, the facility's director, arrived by helicopter despite the late hour, accompanied by Dr. Rajesh Patel, the nation's leading expert in quantum cryptography. The implications of Eleanor's discovery were too significant to risk standard digital communications. "Walk me through it again, Eleanor," Hammond said, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display showing their unusual findings. "You're saying these objects have been there all along?" "Not just there, watching," Eleanor replied, manipulating the 3D model with practiced gestures. "See these patterns? They're characteristic of advanced gravitational manipulation, far beyond anything we've theorized. But here's the fascinating part, they're not perfect. The technology leaves traces, tiny irregularities in spacetime that our new quantum sensors can detect." Dr. Patel leaned forward, his expression intense. "And you're certain these aren't natural phenomena?" "The changes we observe today confirm it," Marcus chimed in, pulling up the latest data. "The anomalies adjusted their behavior after we began detailed observations. That suggests not just technology, but active monitoring and response." Eleanor felt a chill run down her spine as she explained the full implications. "Gentlemen, we're not just looking at evidence of extraterrestrial civilization. We're looking at their surveillance system, and we just caught them trying to hide it." The next week passed in a blur of activity disguised as routine astronomical research. Eleanor's team worked around the clock, developing new detection methods while maintaining absolute secrecy. They discovered 12 more surveillance platforms in various orbits around Earth, each utilizing technology that bent the laws of physics in ways that should have been impossible. But Eleanor's greatest breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. While studying the platform's attempts to evade detection, she began to understand the principles behind their gravitational manipulation technology. It was like learning a new language. Once you grasped the basic grammar, the rest began to make sense. "They're not as advanced as they think they are," she announced during a private briefing with Hammond and representatives from various 3-letter agencies. "Their technology is remarkable, yes, but it's inefficient. They're brute-forcing their way through spacetime when there are more elegant solutions." "More elegant solutions that you've figured out?" Hammond asked, raising an eyebrow. Eleanor allowed herself a small smile. "Theoretical frameworks, for now. But yes. By studying their mistakes, I believe we can develop something better. Something they won't expect." As she laid out her preliminary designs for a new type of gravitational manipulation system, Eleanor couldn't help but feel a sense of irony. The very beings who thought themselves advanced enough to secretly monitor humanity had inadvertently given them the keys to surpass them. "How long until we can build a prototype?" one of the agency representatives asked. "With proper funding and resources?" 6 months, Eleanor replied. "They've been watching us for who knows how long, expecting us to develop on a predictable trajectory. I don't think they counted on us spotting their surveillance platforms, let alone using them as teaching tools." That night, as Eleanor stayed late at the observatory, she found herself looking up at the stars again. Somewhere up there, an advanced civilization was watching, probably still confident in their technological superiority. They had no idea that their careful observation of humanity was about to backfire spectacularly. "Thank you for underestimating us," she murmured to the hidden watchers above. "You're about to learn why that was a mistake." High Admiral Zextera's iridescent scales rippled with frustration as she faced the Galactic Concordat's Supreme Council. The vast chamber, with its sweeping crystalline architecture and floating platforms, normally filled her with pride. Today, it felt like a monument to bureaucratic blindness. "Honorable Council members," she began, her translator converting her harmonic speech patterns into the standard galactic frequency, "I come before you with grave news regarding Sol 3, the world you deemed safely primitive just 2 stellar cycles ago." First speaker Nixus, their consciousness housed in a column of swirling energy, pulsed with what Zextera recognized as dismissive amusement. "Admiral, your concerns about these humans have been noted and dismissed multiple times. They remain confined to their planetary system, fighting among themselves over primitive resources." Zextera activated the holographic display, showing the latest data from their surveillance platforms. "With respect, first speaker, that assessment is now dangerously outdated. Our observation posts have detected something unprecedented." The chamber darkened as the display showed a mountain facility on Earth. "This is a research center in what the humans call Colorado. 3 solar rotations ago, they began emitting quantum interference patterns that suggest they've detected our cloaked platforms." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the assembled representatives of 300 advanced civilizations. Council member Vexthor, his crystalline form glowing with skepticism, spoke up. "Impossible. Our gravitic distortion technology is beyond their theoretical understanding. Their primitive instruments couldn't possibly." "Not only did they detect us," Zextera interrupted, her scales flushing deep blue with urgency, "but they're already working to understand the principles behind our technology. This data shows their quantum sensing capabilities have advanced by nearly 2 centuries in just the past solar revolution." The display shifted to show Dr. Eleanor Wright working in her laboratory, unaware she was being observed. "This human scientist has begun developing theories that approach our level of understanding. But she's taking a completely different approach, one our own scientists are still trying to comprehend." Technical Overseer Rylix, their cybernetic implants glinting in the chamber's soft light, leaned forward. "Different how?" "She's identifying inefficiencies in our methods that we never considered," Zextera explained. "It's as if showing them our technology didn't just give them answers, but helped them ask better questions." "Then we must act immediately," declared War Master Krell, his massive armored form rising from his seat. "A preemptive strike while they remain vulnerable. My battle fleets can." "No." Zextera's scales flared crimson. "That's exactly the kind of response that makes humans so dangerous. Every time they face extinction, they don't just survive, they evolve. They adapt. They overcome." She gestured, and the display showed scenes from human history, cities rising from atomic ash, civilizations rebuilding after devastating plagues, technological leaps made during their most desperate hours. Their entire history is a testament to their resilience. They don't develop gradually like most species. They make revolutionary leaps precisely when we think they're about to fail. And now, thanks to our surveillance, they're about to make another leap. First speaker Nixus's energy form swirled with contemplation. What exactly are you proposing, Admiral? We need to establish diplomatic contact now, while we can still approach as equals. If we wait, if we try to suppress them, we risk creating exactly the kind of threat we've always feared. War Master Krell laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Equals? These primitives? They haven't even established colonies beyond their moon. Because they're pursuing development paths we never considered, Zexterra countered. While we mastered gravity manipulation for space travel, they've delved deep into quantum mechanics and artificial intelligence. Their computational approaches are fundamentally different from ours. They don't just gather knowledge, they innovate. She brought up another display, this one showing the exponential growth of human technological development over the past century. Every time they encounter a limitation, they find a way around it. They don't respect barriers, they break them. The council chambers erupted in heated debate. Some members supported Zexterra's call for diplomatic contact, while others demanded immediate military intervention. Most, however, seemed to favor maintaining the status quo. After hours of argument, first speaker Nixus called for order. We have heard your warnings, Admiral. However, the Council has decided that direct intervention would violate our principles of natural development. We will increase surveillance but take no direct action at this time. Zexterra's scales darkened to deep indigo, a color of profound disappointment. Then I must officially register my protest. When humans achieve their next breakthrough, it won't be a gentle emergence into the galactic community. It will be an explosion that reshapes everything we think we know about technological development. As she left the chamber, Zexterra couldn't shake the feeling that she had just witnessed a pivotal moment in galactic history. The Council's dismissal of humanity's potential wasn't just a mistake, it was the kind of error that ended empires. She paused at a viewport, looking out at the glittering expanse of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, on a blue planet circling an unremarkable star, humanity was about to prove just how dangerous underestimation could be. They think they're containing you, she whispered to the distant Earth. They don't realize they're just giving you time to prepare. The quantum lab at Hawking Array Observatory hummed with an eerie silence as Dr. Eleanor Wright stared at the inexplicable readings on her screen. Something was interfering with their prototype gravitational manipulator, but not in any way she'd expected. The interference pattern suggested deliberate sabotage, yet its complexity hinted at something far more significant. They're trying to corrupt our data, Marcus said, his fingers flying over the holographic controls. But look at this, they're using the same gravitational frequencies we detected from their surveillance platforms. Eleanor smiled grimly. They're not trying to corrupt our data, Marcus. They're trying to teach us a lesson. And they're about to learn one instead. The past 3 months had been a carefully orchestrated dance. While appearing to struggle with basic gravitational theory, Eleanor's team had been secretly developing a revolutionary approach to space-time manipulation. They'd let their alien watchers see exactly what they wanted to see, a primitive species stumbling toward understanding. Gar. Right. Jade Wong, their quantum computing specialist, burst into the lab. The AI just decoded their transmission pattern. You need to see this. The holographic display filled with cascading symbols, an alien language embedded in gravitational waves. But more importantly, it showed them exactly how the aliens were attempting to disrupt their work. They're using a localized space-time distortion to alter our quantum states, Eleanor explained, her excitement building. But they don't realize we've been running everything through quantum error correction algorithms. Their interference isn't corrupting our data, it's giving us a direct look at their technology in action. Director Hammond entered the lab, accompanied by General Diana Martinez, the newly appointed head of Earth's Clandestine Defense Initiative. Please tell me we have good news, Doctor, the general said, her expression tense. Eleanor gestured to the display. Better than good. They just handed us the key to their entire technological framework. The way they manipulate gravity, it's all based on a fundamentally flawed understanding of quantum gravitational coupling. Explain it in simple terms, Hammond requested. They're trying to scramble a combination lock without realizing we can see their fingers moving, Eleanor said. Every attempt at interference shows us exactly how their technology works. And more importantly, shows us how to do it better. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. While the alien saboteurs continued their attempts to disrupt Earth's emerging gravity manipulation technology, Eleanor's team worked frantically to implement their countermeasures. But they weren't just defending, they were learning, adapting, and improving. Their entire technological approach is built on the assumption that gravity can only be manipulated through brute force, Eleanor explained during a briefing with world leaders, connected securely through quantum-encrypted channels. They never considered that quantum entanglement could be used to create microscale gravitational effects. They're trying to bend spacetime like a steel beam when they could be weaving it like fabric. The alien observers noticed something was wrong when their interference patterns began bouncing back, amplified and refined. In their arrogance, they had assumed humanity would either fail to notice their sabotage or lack the capability to respond. They hadn't considered that humans would treat their attacks as impromptu learning opportunities. They're pulling back, Marcus announced, monitoring the surveillance platforms. All interference patterns have ceased. Eleanor nodded, unsurprised. Of course they are. We just showed them we could take their gravitational attacks, understand them, improve them, and send them back, all in less than a day. They're probably trying to figure out how we managed it so quickly. General Martinez stepped forward. How long until we can implement these advances on a larger scale? The principles are sound, Eleanor replied. With the data we gathered from their interference attempts, we can begin manufacturing quantum gravitational manipulators within weeks. But I suggest we keep that capability hidden for now. Why? Hammond asked. Because, Eleanor said, pulling up a display of the alien surveillance network, they still think they've successfully delayed our development. That gives us time to prepare. They showed us their best technology thinking it would overwhelm us. Instead, they revealed the fundamental flaws in their understanding of physics. The general smiled. So we let them think their sabotage worked? Exactly. We continue to develop our own technology in secret, appearing to struggle with basic principles while actually surpassing their capabilities. When they finally decide to make official contact, thinking we're still primitive. We show them exactly how much their arrogance cost them, Hammond finished. Eleanor turned back to her work, already seeing the possibilities unfold. The aliens had tried to teach humanity a lesson about staying in their place. Instead, they'd given humans exactly what they needed to exceed every limitation the Galactic Concordat thought they understood. Send a message to all research facilities, General Martinez ordered. Operation Looking Glass is now in effect. Full quantum encryption on all communications. As far as our observers are concerned, Earth just suffered a significant setback in gravitational physics. As the others left to implement the new security protocols, Eleanor remained in the lab, examining the alien interference patterns one more time. Their attempt at sabotage had been elegant in its own way, it would have worked perfectly against a civilization that thought about physics the way they did. But that was their greatest mistake. They assumed humanity would follow the same technological path they had, never considering that Earth's scientists might find an entirely different way forward. Now, that assumption would cost them their technological advantage. Thank you for the lesson, Eleanor whispered to the distant watchers. We'll be sure to return the favor soon enough. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, General Diana Martinez stood before a wall of holographic displays showing humanity's secret progress. Each screen told a different story, quantum shipyards hidden in asteroid belts, gravity manipulation systems being tested in underground chambers, and defense platforms disguised as communication satellites. 6 months, she mused, addressing the assembled leaders of Earth's unified defense initiative. 6 months since they tried to sabotage our research, and they still think we're struggling with basic gravitational theory. Dr. Eleanor Wright stepped forward, her normally pristine lab coat showing signs of endless work hours. The latest data from our quantum sensors confirms it. Their surveillance platforms are maintaining standard observation patterns. They haven't detected any of our advancements. The room's central hologram showed Earth's solar system, with red dots indicating known alien observation posts and blue markers showing humanity's hidden installations. The blue significantly outnumbered the red. Project Phoenix is ahead of schedule, reported Admiral Chen, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic light. The first fleet of quantum drive ships is complete. We've kept them powered down and hidden in the Kuiper Belt, exactly as planned. Eleanor nodded approvingly. The quantum masking technology is working perfectly. As far as their sensors can tell, there's nothing out there but ice and rock. The meeting continued as reports came in from around the globe. While the world's governments maintained a careful facade of business as usual on the surface, humanity's true technological revolution was happening in secret. The aliens' attempted interference had catalyzed an unprecedented era of human cooperation and advancement. Director Hammond, update on the public science program? General Martinez requested. Hammond activated a new display showing carefully crafted research papers and public announcements. We're maintaining the appearance of slow, methodical progress. Our public research suggests we're still years away from basic gravity manipulation. Meanwhile, he gestured, and the display shifted to show the reality: antimatter production facilities on the dark side of the moon, quantum communication networks spanning the solar system, and ships that could manipulate spacetime in ways the aliens hadn't even theorized possible. The Concordat's arrogance is our greatest advantage, Eleanor explained. They're so convinced of their technological superiority that they're not looking for alternatives to their own methods. They don't realize we've taken their basic principles and evolved them into something entirely new. A junior officer burst into the room, face flushed with urgency. General. We've detected increased activity in the alien surveillance network. They're changing their orbital patterns. The room tensed as Eleanor pulled up the latest sensor data. They're expanding their coverage, she analyzed. Adding new platforms, increasing their observation capacity. They must have noticed something. No, General Martinez said, studying the patterns. This isn't a response to us. They're preparing for something. Admiral Zextera's latest quantum-encrypted transmission to her superiors mentioned a timeline. They're planning to initiate official first contact. Eleanor couldn't help but smile. They think we're finally approaching their arbitrary threshold for civilized species. They're going to reveal themselves, expecting us to be awed by their advanced technology. How long do we have? Hammond asked. Based on their deployment patterns, 3 months at most, Eleanor replied. They're positioning their platforms to monitor our reaction to their revelation. They want to study how we handle the knowledge that we're not alone in the universe. General Martinez straightened, her expression resolute. Then we have 3 months to complete our preparations. Admiral Chen, accelerate Project Phoenix's timeline. I want every ship in the fleet ready for immediate action. Director Hammond, maintain our cover story but begin positioning our public narrative for what's coming. And the quantum defense grid? Eleanor asked. Complete it, Martinez ordered. But keep it powered down until we need it. Let them think they're dealing with a primitive species taking its first steps into a larger galaxy. Their assumptions about our capabilities are about to become their greatest weakness. The meeting concluded with a detailed review of humanity's response protocols. Every scenario had been planned for, every contingency considered. When the Galactic Concordat finally decided to reveal themselves, they would find not the primitive civilization they expected, but one that had used their own arrogance against them. As Eleanor returned to her lab that night, she paused to look up at the stars. Somewhere up there, alien civilizations were preparing to welcome humanity into their galactic community, on their terms, according to their rules, guided by their technology. They had no idea that humanity had already surpassed them in ways they couldn't imagine. Their carefully planned first contact was about to become a lesson in the danger of underestimating human potential. "We're ready," she whispered to the watching stars. "The question is, are you ready for us?" In hidden shipyards across the solar system, humanity's quantum ships waited in silence. In underground bunkers, advanced weapon systems remained powered down but primed. And in laboratories around the world, scientists continued to push the boundaries of what the aliens thought possible. The greatest deception in human history was about to reach its climax. When the Galactic Concordat finally revealed themselves, expecting to find a primitive species worthy of their guidance, they would instead discover that humanity had turned their own surveillance against them, learned from their attempts at interference, and emerged stronger than they could have imagined. The hidden war was almost over. The real one was about to begin. The massive alien ship emerged from hyperspace just beyond Luna's orbit, its crystalline structure gleaming in the sunlight. Smaller vessels flanked it in a display of technological superiority meant to awe their primitive audience. High Admiral Zextera watched Earth's blue sphere through the command center's viewing portal, her scales shifting with anxiety. Something felt wrong. All surveillance platforms report normal human activities, her second-in-command reported. Their global communications show expected patterns of chaos and excitement at detecting our approach. "Too perfect," Zextera muttered. "The patterns are too perfect." Before she could voice her concerns, First Speaker Nixus materialized on the bridge, their energy form contained within a diplomatic shell. "Admiral, begin the greeting protocol. Let us show these humans how a civilized species makes first contact." The alien armada moved forward, their ships arranging themselves in a ceremonial pattern above Earth's major cities. On the surface, news networks broadcast scenes of panic and wonder, exactly as the Concordat's predictive models had anticipated. That's when everything changed. In an instant, quantum signatures bloomed across the solar system. Hidden ships emerged from dimensional pockets the aliens hadn't known were possible. Defense platforms shimmered into existence, their technology so advanced that the alien sensors initially refused to acknowledge them as real. "Impossible," First Speaker Nixus pulsed with shock. "Their development level was a lie," Zextera finished, her scales darkening with understanding. "We taught them how to hide from us when we tried to hide from them." A transmission cut through all frequencies, bypassing the alien fleet's most sophisticated encryption. Dar. Eleanor Wright's image appeared on every screen, her expression calm but resolute. "Welcome to Earth, representatives of the Galactic Concordat," she began. "We've been expecting you. In fact, we've been studying you for quite some time." The alien command center erupted in chaos as sensor readings poured in. Human ships appeared from behind Mars, within the rings of Saturn, and even from the dark side of Earth's moon. Each vessel demonstrated mastery of gravitational physics that surpassed anything in the Concordat's arsenal. "You see," Eleanor continued, "when you tried to interfere with our research, you showed us the flaws in your understanding of quantum gravitational mechanics. Your attempt to suppress our development became the catalyst for our greatest leap forward." General Martinez stepped into view beside Eleanor. "Your surveillance gave us the perfect cover to prepare. While you watched our public facilities, our hidden quantum shipyards built a fleet that could match yours. While you monitored our civilian communications, we developed technologies that make your fastest ships look primitive." First Speaker Nixus's energy form fluctuated with rage. "This is an outrage. We came in peace. You came in condescension, Eleanor corrected. You came to guide what you thought was a primitive species into a galactic community where we would be dependent on your technology and bound by your rules. Instead, you're about to become part of something much more significant. As if to emphasize her point, human ships began quantum jumping around the alien fleet, demonstrating maneuvers that should have been impossible. Each jump left ripples in spacetime that the aliens could barely detect, let alone understand. We're not here to fight, Eleanor assured them. We're here to help you evolve. Your civilization has become stagnant, relying on brute force approaches to physics that we abandoned months ago. We can show you a better way. Admiral Zextera moved to the front of the command center, her scales shifting to a deep blue of revelation. You understand what this means, first speaker? They haven't just caught up to us. They've surpassed us. Impossible. War Master Krell's voice boomed through the command channel. We should strike now, while. His transmission cut off as his entire battle fleet found itself instantly displaced to the outer solar system, caught in a quantum bubble that negated all their gravitational technology. That won't be necessary, General Martinez said calmly. We're not interested in conquest or domination. We're interested in cooperation, real cooperation, between equals. Eleanor stepped forward again. Your surveillance platforms showed us that we're not alone in the universe. Now we're showing you that you're not alone in your understanding of it. There are other paths, other ways of thinking, other approaches to the fundamental forces that shape our reality. The next few hours saw the most dramatic restructuring of galactic politics in recorded history. The human delegation, led by Eleanor and General Martinez, presented evidence of their technological achievements that left even the most skeptical Concordat scientists in awe. Your interference forced us to innovate, Eleanor explained to a stunned council of alien scientists. When you tried to corrupt our quantum experiments, you never considered that we might use quantum entanglement to manipulate gravity itself. When you showed us your brute force approach to space-time manipulation, you never imagined we'd find a way to weave through its fabric instead of bending it. As the day ended, Admiral Zextera found herself standing beside Eleanor in the observation deck of the human quantum flagship. Together, they watched Earth rotate below, its surface now dotted with previously hidden technological marvels. You knew, didn't you? Eleanor asked. That's why you kept warning them. Zextera's scales rippled with rueful amusement. I knew humans were dangerous. I never imagined how dangerous. You turned our own arrogance into your greatest weapon. Not a weapon, Eleanor corrected. A tool for change. The galaxy was stagnating, locked into a single way of thinking about technology and progress. Sometimes it takes a new perspective to break old patterns. As news of Earth's true capabilities spread across the galaxy, the old power structures began to crumble. The Concordat's monopoly on advanced technology vanished overnight, replaced by a new era of collaborative innovation. Humanity's different approach to physics didn't just change the balance of power, it opened up entirely new frontiers of possibility. The species that had laughed at warnings about humanity's potential found themselves facing not the primitive civilization they had expected, but teachers who could show them how to break free from millennia of technological stagnation. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, countless other emerging civilizations continued their own unique paths of development, waiting to add their perspectives to the ever-expanding story of galactic evolution.